All right, let's talk about generative AI. You've seen it everywhere, right? You've probably even played around with it. But have you ever really stopped and wondered what is actually going on under the hood? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's pull back the curtain and demystify this so-called magic.
I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? You give it a simple prompt, you hit enter, and boom! Seconds later, there's a full-blown essay, and it looks pretty good. So, is it thinking? Is it just pulling from some massive database? The real answer is actually way more interesting than that.
So first things first, let's get our terms straight. The official name for this stuff is generative AI, or GenAI for short. And the definition has two really important parts: creating new content and doing it based on patterns. See, it's not just finding something that already exists, it's making something totally new from everything it's learned.
You know, if you want the simplest, easiest way to wrap your head around this, just think of it like this. It's a very, very advanced autocomplete. Like the one on your phone that suggests the next word? Imagine that, but supercharged by about 1 billion. It's not just predicting the next word, it's predicting the next sentence, and the next paragraph, and the next big idea.
Okay, so how in the world does it get so good at predicting all of that? Well, it all goes back to the learning process. So let's take a peek inside the quote-unquote brain and see how it gets trained up. It really boils down to 3 main steps. First, it just analyzes a staggering amount of data. We're talking billions of examples, basically a huge chunk of the internet. Then, from all that information, it starts to learn patterns, how sentences are structured, how ideas connect. And finally, it uses all of that to build this giant probability map that figures out which words are most likely to follow other words.
Now, this is maybe the most important part to get right about its learning. The AI isn't memorizing facts, not like you'd cram for a test. What it's actually doing is learning the relationships between words. It knows that peanut butter is often followed by and jelly, not because it memorized a recipe card, but because it saw that exact pattern millions and millions of times. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're a teacher and you've read thousands of student essays. Over time, you just get a feel for it, right? You start to notice what a good introduction looks like, how a strong argument flows. The AI is doing that exact same thing, just on a totally superhuman scale. It's spotting these tiny patterns across massive amounts of text.
So that's the learning part. That's how it gets smart. Now let's switch gears and look at the second part, the generation process. This is where the magic you actually see on your screen happens. Which brings us to the next logical question. If it's not some giant walking encyclopedia, how does it seem to know so much when you ask it a really specific question? And the answer, honestly, is kind of wild. It doesn't know a thing, not in a way we do. It predicts. Word by word, it just calculates the most probable next piece of text based on your prompt and all those patterns it learned. It's just a chain reaction of predictions, one word at a time, that eventually builds up into what looks like a complete answer.
You know, it's not that different from when your own brain finishes a sentence for somebody else. You're just making a really informed guess based on the context and your own experience. Well, GenAI is doing the same thing. It's just doing it with an insane amount of data and at lightning speed.
Okay, so understanding how it works is one thing, but now we've got to do a little reality check, because it's just as important, maybe even more important, to understand what this technology is not. This is probably the biggest myth out there. It really feels like it understands you, doesn't it? But it doesn't. It's a pattern matching machine, a very, very sophisticated one. It has no idea what love or sadness actually mean. It just knows which words and phrases are statistically likely to show up around them. And here's the other big one. Because it's a prediction engine and not a fact checker, it can be confidently 100% wrong. When it just makes stuff up, we call those hallucinations. It's just following the most probable path of words, even if that path leads it right off a cliff into something that is completely untrue. So the big takeaway here? Always, always verify. So let's just quickly recap those key limitations. 1. It's not a person. No thoughts, no feelings, no consciousness. 2. As we just covered, it can be inaccurate. It can hallucinate. 3. Its knowledge is basically frozen in time. It doesn't learn from your conversation in real time. And 4, a really important one, it can absorb and reflect all the biases that were present in its training data. Okay, we've gone through how it learns, how it creates, and what its limits are. So let's pull all of this together into a new mental model, a better way for you to think about this technology from now on. If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this phrase right here.
At its heart, generative AI is a supercharged pattern recognizer. That's it. It finds the patterns in human language and creation, and then it uses those patterns to make something new. It's not magic, it's just math and a whole lot of data.
And that really helps us understand its proper place, right? What it is an amazing assistant. I mean, it's incredible for brainstorming ideas, getting a first draft down, or just sparking your creativity. But what it is not is a replacement for human judgment, for real expertise, or for critical thinking. That job, well, that's still on us.
So at the end of the day, we're left with this incredibly powerful new tool, one built entirely on patterns and probability. The real question going forward isn't just about what it can do. It's about how we, with our human judgment intact, are going to choose to use it wisely.